And this morning, welcome those who are just joining. This morning, we're going to be discussing a very important and very serious matter, as we always do on this program. We're going to be talking about single mothers, and we're going to be talking about the alpha male. Can a single mother raise an alpha male? This is a question that even after this video is done, I would like to explore it some more because there is a whole lot to unpack. There's a whole lot to talk about, and one video is just not enough. So after I do this, I'm going to go back to my notes and see what did I miss out, because I really want to do justice to this topic. I really, really want to do justice to this topic. So you can look out for future videos on, I'm going to even split it up. Future videos on single motherhood by itself and future videos on the alpha male, because this is a term that is being tossed around a lot lately, the alpha male, and everybody and his brother and cousin are declaring themselves as alpha. Very few are willing to say, no, I am not, right? Everybody is the alpha. And we're even hearing the term alpha female. So what exactly is the alpha male? And who decides who is the alpha male? So that is something we need to look at in earnest and give it the due diligence that it needs. So one video will not cut it. But we're going to start, right? We're going to start the discussion and see where it takes us and see what else we need to do. So last week, I read for you a comment, a very long-winded comment that it was a response that I gave to a friend of mine's Facebook post, and it came up last week because that was the 3-year anniversary of that post. And Facebook does that thing where it things pop up a year after, or 2 years exactly to the date, if Facebook deems that it was a topic that was highly discussed, right? So it reminds you of it. So it came up exactly on the day that I was doing another video, and I decided to read it. Now, this morning I want to read it again because this is actually the response that triggered this week's topic. It was talking about single mothers, right? So last week we were talking about the community D, and that our Black sons will not be raised as the community D anymore. So if you're interested in that, just scroll back to the video from last week here on the Amamansi Network and have a look at how we dealt with that topic about Black boys being raised to believe they are the community D, the property of the community, and the effect that that can have on them. So I'm going to start this video by reading that response again. So the question that my friend, let me share. First of all, I forgot to share the screen. So the question that my friend had posed in his Facebook post was, hold on. He had asked the question of his female Facebook friends. He only wanted the females to respond. And he had asked the question, is it a deal breaker? Is it a turn off for you if you meet a man and in the initial stages of that relationship, you discover that he was raised by a single mother? Does that of itself indicates to you that this is not going to be someone who you want to mess with, right? This is not going to be the ideal mate for you simply because he was raised by a single mother. So this was my response, and this was in January 15, 2020, of men who are raised by single mothers. So my response was, men who are raised by single mothers should be approached with caution, but not necessarily with trepidation. I've interacted with many men who were raised in fatherless homes, and I've noticed that they fall into one of two very distinctly opposite categories. They are either the better or the worse for the experience. The lack of a father in his life can make a man resolve that his children will never lack a father, will never have to endure the alienation, and will always feel safe and provided for. He will observe healthy family relationships around him and resolve to emulate and replicate such. He will actively seek out mentorship and self help resources in an attempt to steer himself away from the dysfunction that has been his lot. Conversely, the lack of a father in his life can make a man feel that since he survived and is doing okay, his presence is not needed in his own children's lives, and he is not required to shoulder his financial, emotional, and moral responsibilities towards them. If he finds himself in a household, he is very likely to leave all the weight of child rearing on the mother, perhaps even the household chores that are considered the realm of men. He saw his mother having to tend to all of these. He is more likely to stir up and prolong arguments. He's more likely to expect to be kept by a woman, financially and otherwise. He may have been spoiled rotten by an overly doting mother who did her best to compensate for the lack of paternal affection in the home, referring to him as her one and only husband. So that's the boy she's referring to as my husband. He may not have been required to help with chores and other responsibilities. He may also have had his self esteem eroded by being the brunt of chastisement because he happened to look like your worthless papa, your worthless father. In Jamaica, we call it your worthless papa, right? So when a Jamaican mother tells her son, you look like your worthless papa, he's saying, you remind me of your worthless father. He may have been bashed topside his head when the weight of single motherhood left his mother unable to provide for him, and he just happened to do something stupid and get underfoot the way children do. Even if he does become a provider for the family, he is likely to feel that this is all that is required of him, and the protective and nurturing male qualities will be neglected. That said, I don't believe that children necessarily need biological fathers in their lives. What they need is at least one, but preferably several, positive and consistent adult male presence. They need to see their mother being loved, being protected, and being respected by men. Throughout the house and the commune and the village, they need to hear deep, husky voices that, together with the softness of their mother's lap, combine to make them feel secure. All right, so that was my take 3 years ago on that question. For me personally, am I turned off by the fact that a man was raised by a single woman? Hell no. Why? As a matter of fact, two of the three partners of mine were raised by single mothers, and two of them met their dad way into their adult life, And when they met their dad, it was only in passing. There was never a relationship. And I can vouch for the fact that these men are solid fathers and solid father figures. So, as I said in the reading, it can go both ways. It can veer off in both directions, where the boy can grow to say, listen, I lacked this as a child, and so I am going to come even stronger as a man because I don't want my child to go through what I went through. So it can make him even a better choice as a spouse, or it can veer the other way and become a bomb, right? So let's get into the topic. So let's look at, first of all, the fact that at present, the way the narratives are going, single women being a single mother is seen like it's a self-inflicted contagion, if there is such a thing as a self-inflicted contagion. She is seen as someone to avoid, like a leper. I've been watching many videos on YouTube, on Facebook, social media in general. And the narrative now is, the advice being given to men, mainly by other men, is don't hook up with a single mother, avoid her like a leper, right? Now, you see, the thing is, many of the single women, or I would say most single women, did not set out on the journey asking to be a single woman, a single mother. She started out the journey with great hope and expectation to be a double partner household. And for whatever reason, which we're going to look at some of those reasons that create single mothers, for whatever reason, she finds herself in the position of being a single mother, and then she has to fill in. Now, I know of many women who they gave it their all, they did what they were expected to do, they did what their mothers and grandmothers and church elders and religious script and society told them to do, step by step by step. They did exactly, went according to the books. And you see, the thing is, a lot of men don't know how to appreciate when they have a good thing. They feel it is their prerogative to play the field. And so they might have a great thing, a wonderful thing, and they find a way to mess it up because they feel like they have options. And in doing so, they create single mothers, and then they themselves will look at her as a liability. And we're going to look at all of that. I have, like I said, I know many women, and I know you do too, who played by the rules. I have a friend, she did everything according to what she was told to do. Saved her virginity for marriage, right? Because you're told as a woman, and you see, in this society, we are told as women how to catch a man, how to hold a man. What are the things you need to do to hold a man? And some of us fall into that, and we do everything. We save our virginity for marriage or for a committed relationship because we are told our body count matters. It matters how many partners you have been with, and the more men you have been with, it decreases your value, it decreases your attractiveness to a potential mate. That is what we are told. And some women, they go by that. So they say, okay, I'm going to preserve my virginity for marriage. I'm going to be, but there's a catch to that, because While the men want virgins to marry, they also want a freak in bed. So you must be a virgin and you must also be a freak in bed. Your body count must be zilch, but you must have the expertise of a porn star, right? You must be soft spoken. You must be submissive. You must be beautiful or at least presentable. So he must be able to take you around, introduce you to his family, introduce you to his friends. You must have no skeletons in the closet. So you must have nothing to declare. You must have a tight P, right? Able to satisfy him, like I said. Freak and virgin. A freaky virgin. That's what you're supposed to be. You must be educated, but not too independent and not too ambitious. Otherwise, you're going to pose a threat to him. You must be a great cook. You must be able to clean and wash. You must be fun loving, but you must be a whore. And preferably, you must be under 30. Now, a friend of mine was able to go down this list, check, 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 check. Virgin, check. Beautiful, check. Educated, check. Submissive, check, check, check. And guess what? After she got married, after she had her child, her spouse decided she was not enough for him and he divorced her. Now she's a single mother. Is she a liability? Did she ask for it? No. She did everything according to the book. And she still ended up as a single mother. So we need to really be honest, and we need to be practical, and we need to stop making women feel that they have become a leper for being in a situation that men place them in. I'm not saying the women are never at fault, but most times I'm honestly saying that the women who I know, they give it their all. Women have a tendency to give their all to relationships, and men have a tendency to find a way to fuck it up and to ruin it. And sometimes the woman is faced with the reality that here she is in a relationship and still doing the things as if she was a single mother, still doing everything, still taking care of the kids, still footing the bills. It's as if he is another child. So she might say, well, I can do bad all by myself. And she decides to foot it on her own. She makes the wise decision to branch out on her own since she's already doing all of it. Why not do all of it without the added responsibility of having to wash, cook, and clean for another child, a grown child? Now, let us look at the situations that can lead one to become a single mother, right? Because, like I said, people don't go no. I was about to say I was about to say that no sane woman would take on single motherhood, but you do have a few women, especially in the modern era that we're in now, you do have a few women who would deliberately seek out to be a single mother. That's another topic we can explore. Why? What would motivate a woman to say, hey, I want to do this by myself? And she might go in to a facility where she can become impregnated. She doesn't even need to know or want to know the name of the father. She doesn't want to know anything about the father. She might choose the physical characteristics that she likes, and but she doesn't want to know anything else, and that suits her. But that's a few. That's a very small minority of women, right? So most women who are in relationships and pregnancy occurs, it is their hope that they will be raising this child with the father. That is their hope, that is their expectation. So what are the things that can lead to you being a single mother? Well, the obvious things: divorce, or abandonment of any kind, whether abandonment at the point of the father knowing that she's pregnant, because some men leave at that point. That's when they take to the hills, or at some point after the child is born. So divorce, abandonment, death, obviously, migration, because some men migrate and for a time the relationship continues, but because of the long distance, because of the strains of that, the relationship breaks down. He goes off to the other country. He remarries or hooks up with someone else. Vice versa, she may have been the one who migrated, and the long distance didn't work, and so they decided to end it, whether mutually or in heartbreak, right? She might okay, so another less scenario is he's gone off to prison. That could cause you being a single mother, whether you broke up with the person or not. The person is not physically there or emotionally there, right? And then, as we said, some women do choose, but this is a very, very, very few women. And usually, these women, they would know that they have the wherewithal, they have the financial means, they are stable, they feel stable in themselves to be able to take this on, because it is a humongous, humongous task to take on. And right now, two persons in the household you have a mother and a father working, and it's a struggle for most persons. With two legitimately full-time salaries, it's a struggle for most persons, let alone for anyone to try to take on the task of raising a child, just the financial task of raising the child, let alone having time to nurture the child, and to spend that quality time, to be there, to be available for the child. So it is a humongous task for anyone to take on. It's humongous for two persons, let alone one. All right, so I'm just going to share and to take on. It's humongous. Share the video. Just give me a second. Let me share this before I forget to share it. Okay, let's alone one. All right. So we talked about what can make a single woman, right? And when she becomes a single woman, how does that play out? What is the scenario of that? So she would be the main provider. She would be the breadwinner. She would be the one probably having to hold down not just one, but two, three jobs to be able to make ends meet, to hold things together. So, what that means usually is that she has less time available to nurture, less time to nurture her child, less time to nurture herself. Her own femininity will not be nurtured, because it's as if now she's playing the double role of mother and father, especially if she does not live in an extended family household. So if it's just her and the child or children, she will find herself taking on the traditionally masculine roles, as well as her natural feminine roles. If she lives in an extended family household, some of the traditional masculine roles will still be filled by the males, the adult males in that household. So it will not be that obvious. The lack of the father will not be that obvious because there are males there. There are male presence there. There are father figures there, and that's the point I was making in my response to my friend, that the child, the male child, needs a male presence, a strong, firm, solid male presence, but it does not necessarily have to be the biological father. It does not even have to be a stepfather. It can be uncles, it can be grandpa, it can be even neighbors, close family friends. And in my opinion, once that is available to a male child, he will be fine. Once he has solid, firm, strong male presence in his life as a guide, as mentorship, as a way of seeing what a man does and what a man should do, he will be fine. So go back then to the community. It takes the community, it takes the village to raise children. Whether you are a single mother or even if you had your spouse, it still takes the community, the wider community, right? So the criticisms that people have of single mothers, one of the main criticisms is that she is or was loose, that she made bad decisions and more likely not capable of making future good decisions, right? Bad choices. It's a condemnation on her. You don't know her situation. You don't know how she came to be single. You don't know how she came to be living with 4 kids, 4 different fathers. But you make a judgment on her that she made bad choices. And let's be honest, yes, it could be. It could be that, hey, this woman has 4 kids, 4 different fathers. Yeah, she's making bad choices. That could very well be the case, but it does not necessarily have to be the case. You see a woman with no man in her life, she's struggling to raise her kid. She may have played by the books to the T, to the dot, and still ended up with the shitty end of the stick as a result of the action of the male. And now she is trying to cope. Now she's trying to stand firm. She was left with the responsibility and she's standing up to it. She's doing what she needs to do. Why is she now being condemned? And people are being told to avoid her like the plague, when she's holding her own and she's doing her best to keep things afloat. Why is she seen as a leper? She should be complimented. And the brothers in the community should stand by their responsibility in the first place and not run from it. And then if a brother comes and sees a single mother and wants to become a part of her life and wants to take on that responsibility, he's being criticized as being a simp because he wants to step in and father these children. He's seen as a simp. He's seen as not an alpha because he has decided to take on another man's child. I watched a video by a well-known person whom I feel is a misogynist, and he was saying that in the wild, and I think he was using the chimpanzee or the gorilla as the example, and the lions, the male lions and other carnivores, he was saying that when the alpha comes in, so like if you have a situation where the females were there and there is an alpha and this new dominant male comes and challenges the one who is there and chases him away, one of the things he does immediately is to kill her offspring that first male animal had produced with her. One of the first thing the alpha does is to kill the offspring, kill her offspring. And this man was promoting that and saying the alpha male will not be a father to any offspring that is not his. In my opinion, a misogynist is not an alpha. I'm going to tell you in a little while what I think an alpha male is, and you can let me know what your definition of an alpha male is. But to some of these men and to some, even some women, the alpha male is the one who will come in and beat his chest and is physically stronger. Yes, most men are physically stronger than most women. Does that make him alpha? Does that make him alpha simply because he is physically stronger? And when he comes in if he decides to come into a situation where the woman has her child, is he to kill those children? And if he can't kill them physically because of the standards of our society, is he not to care for them the way he care for his own? You see, these men, these so-called alpha males, these misogynists, are claiming that, yeah, in the wild, in the animal kingdom, this is how it is done. This is how the gorilla does it. This is how it is done. This is right. But we are humans, we are animals, but we like to think of ourselves as separate and apart because of civilization. The fact that we have created human civilization with rules, with laws, with morals. We have evolved to understand that certain of our animal nature is not conducive to a good civilized way of running society. And so if at our convenience we fall back on those animal instincts, what good is that going to do us? Are we going to start murdering people, just using brute force to get our way? That's a natural animal instinct to use brute force. But I would like to think that as a civilized human, you will rein in that brutish nature that you have to dominate another human being, to kill a woman's offspring because you did not seed it. I would like to think that we can evolve beyond that. All right, so let's look at the definition. I was doing some research, and what is an alpha male? What do you think an alpha male means? How do you define an alpha male? I'll tell you my definition in a minute. But in my research, these are the words that were popping up, right? In my research. What is an alpha male? So the alpha male is the highest rank in the society. He's the dominant. These are the words that you'll hear coming up. Dominant, high rank, successful, charismatic, charming, prowess, virility. All these words are associated with the alpha male. But is brute force a quality that is desirable to us? Is the fact that you are physically stronger more muscular, have a denser bone. Is that alone the reason why you want to dominate a woman or dominate other men? So physical strength is a main thing in the definition of the alpha male. Dominance in society, socio-sexual. So it's not just his position on the corporate ladder, but also his position in the domestic arena as well. He is the sexually dominant one. He's the one who makes the decisions, or at least the final decisions, even if he's open to discussion, and some are not. But even if he is open to discussion, he reserves the right to have the final say in matters affecting the family, even matters affecting the woman, about what she should do, how she should dress, how she should carry herself, how high she's allowed to climb, how far she's allowed to go. He reserves the right to decide. When she speaks, what she says. The alpha male is seen as the most desirable by the most people. So he would be the most attractive according to the standards of the day, let's say, or the standards of the ruling class, let's put it that way, right? Because those are the standards that matter to the alpha. Those who are currently in charge, what do they say? How do they define beauty? How do they define success? He is seen as having access to power, access to, he's influential. He has status in the society. And in terms of material possessions, he would more than likely own his own house, which would not be the average house. He would have his car / cars, which would not be your average car. And he has access. He's given the first priority in terms of accessing mates, accessing jobs, accessing opportunities. He is usually highly intelligent and very bold, and described as having a magnetic personality, charismatic, like he pulls people to him. So that's a lot. Those are very high expectations for anyone to meet. So then we can safely say there are just a tiny few men, a tiny small, weeny bit fraction of men who are truly alphas then, right? So is it that only this tiny percentage of men should have access to the mates in the society, or are the lesser men still allowed to procreate? Because in the animal world, if we're playing by truly animal standards, it's really only the alpha, in most cases, who is allowed to procreate, whose genes are allowed to be passed down. The lesser males might get a chance after the alpha has run the lot and had his way with the mates that are available. Is this what we're saying we want for society? Because truly, if we're going by those animal standards, it should only be the alpha who is allowed his genes, because he's the dominant one, and we want to evolve to let only the dominant genes pass on, right? Is this what we're saying? All right, so my definition of an alpha male the main thing I look for when I'm thinking of an alpha male is self-discipline, self-determination, the ability to be dominant not over others, but over yourself, self-control. A man who has self-control, a man who has self-discipline, for me is the most desirable. And with that, he naturally will be successful. He naturally will command respect, not demand it, but command it. He naturally will be attractive because he will stand firm in himself and he knows who he is and he does not try to dominate others, least of all the person whom he calls his mate, whom he has beside him, who is going to help him to raise his children. Why would you want to dominate a sovereign, intelligent adult? I don't even want to dominate a child, let alone another adult. So the question then, can a single woman, a woman who has no help or very little help from the father of the children or from any other male presence, is she able to raise a man who is confident in himself, who is disciplined in himself, who is intelligent, who is able to become successful and attractive? Can a woman do this on her own? In my opinion, yes, she can. She can done it and she has done it. She has had to do it. She has had to do it. She had no choice. Because even when she set out and played by the rules and did things according to the books, many times she ended up all alone and she still wanted the best for her children, and so she did the extra. She played both roles. She stepped up. She was the father and the mother. She has done this time and time again. And she has created some splendid offspring, as well as some came out not so good. Just as you can have a double-headed household that creates offspring that don't turn out so good either. Right? So I know a lot of males, students whom I have taught. Many of them were raised by single women. When I look at my kids now, presently enrolled at my school, most of them are being raised by single mothers, most of them. And these women go the extra mile. They put out their best to ensure that their sons, their daughters are not deprived of anything. These kids are their priority. And they instill discipline, they instill good work ethic in them. They let them know what is expected of them in terms of academics, in terms of securing their future. And these guys grow up to be firm, disciplined scholars and go on to college and make something of themselves. Because that fact of missing out on a father, it can be an impetus, it can be a motivator to them. I have seen where that is a motivator to so many boys because they don't want to put another child through what they went. So they, just like how their mom did the extra to ensure that they had what they needed, they have resolved in themselves to do the extra. So their offspring doesn't fall short. They have resolved in themselves not to put another woman through what their father put their mom through. So persons might say, well, if he's being raised by a single mother, he's going to be soft. He's going to, he sees her doing these things around the house that normally a man is supposed to do. He's going to grow to expect that his woman will do these things. He might even expect that the woman should take care of him financially, because he sees his mom footing all the bills, paying for everything in the house, even fixing things in the house sometimes. And some people feel that he will grow to expect women to take care of him financially. He will grow to expect women to do the things that traditionally men will do. I don't agree with that. Like I said, if he's in a household that is an extended family household, he will see the other men doing these things. And even if he's growing with his mom alone and she's fixing things, it doesn't stand to reason that he's going to come and expect a woman to do that. If he's a sensible boy, he will grow into a sensible man who understands the situation that his mother was in, and the fact that she had to compensate for the fact that the father was missing. She was compensating, right? And the someone said to me just yesterday, I was asking one of my male friends a question, and he was saying, the man is rough, the man takes risks, the man protects. And if the boy is raised by the woman, he's not going to be likely to take the risks that is normal and natural for males to take. He's going to play it safe because it's a woman's tendency to keep him safe. So things that he would normally do, she would quell that. And in quelling it, she's kind of making him inclined to be that way in adulthood. I don't think this is necessarily so, because this same person who was telling me this, he was not raised by a father, but he had male influence in his life. He had his uncles, he had grandpa, he saw them doing stuff, and he's now a very masculine man. He fixes things, he's very protective, very defensive, especially of the women in his life, and especially of children. So, you know, we the woman compensates, and the children will grow to understand that. I think for the most part, the children grow, they have common sense, they grow to understand what is what, and they grow to fill their place, and they come out even stronger for it, with the resolve that they are not they are not going to allow this to happen to their offspring, right? So nobody's saying that this is the ideal. No, but this is not the question, right? Nobody's saying this is the way to go and it's a preferred way. Like I said, most women who get pregnant, especially those who get pregnant willingly, it is not their intention to raise the child on their own. They didn't go into it with this intention, even the second child. She may find herself, even if she marries, even if she ensures that he marries her first, that is not a guarantee that she's not going to be a single mother. Ensuring that he marries, ensuring that you meet all the requirements that you are told you must have, ensuring that you save yourself for marriage, ensuring that you are submissive, ensuring that you're attractive, ensuring none of these things will keep a man, will hold a man who does not want to be kept, who does not want to be held down. And so she will get into the situation and find herself as a single woman. And she might wait for years, get herself together. So she had the first child. She trying to put things in place and get herself in a position. Might even marry again, and there's nothing to stop a man from fleeing. If he's going to flee, he's going to flee. There's nothing you can do to stop him. So don't chastise women. I'm not saying women are no blame to hold. Yes, some women make stupid choices. Yes, some women don't put anything in place to prevent these things from happening. Yes, some women don't learn from their mistakes. They go and make the same mistake over and over and over and over again. But the majority of women who find themselves as single women, in their minds, they did everything they were supposed to do, everything society told them to do, everything their religion told them to do, everything their moms and grandmas told them to do. And they still found themselves in the situation and now doing the very best they can to hold things together, to make solid men out of their sons, and they have been doing it for generations. They have been creating solid men for generations, putting these men out into the society, putting them out as doctors, as engineers. Read the biographies and autobiographies of some of these great men. We're talking about men today. We know the daughters too came out on top. But read these autobiographies and biographies of many of the what we would call alpha males. Who raised them? Look and see, how were they raised? What kind of household was it? A double-headed household with mother and father married? Check and see. Let us check and see who raised these alpha males that we have in our society today. Even the misogynistic ones running around beating their chests, right? And how do we define alpha male? Is it just your material possessions? Is it just your ability to say things and attract people to you? Or do you have that sovereignty within you to hold yourself together, to be disciplined? Even if you are soft-spoken, can't a soft-spoken man be an alpha male? A man who is so assured of himself that he doesn't need to shout and beat his chest. He doesn't need to be going down the road like this. He's so assured of himself that he can even whisper. He doesn't have to raise his voice. He doesn't have to raise his fist. He doesn't have to flaunt 6 Mercedes or Ferraris or whatever it is. He doesn't have to point at his mansion up on the hills. He can just be in his sovereignty, and you know he's an alpha male because he has control over himself. He doesn't have to subjugate another human being for him to feel like he's the boss, because he's the boss of himself, and he wants another boss his counterpart, his female counterpart, to stand by his side. That is an alpha male. And yes, a single woman can and has been putting out those males because she had no choice in the matter. She had to do what she had to do, and she has done it. Now, I want to revisit this topic. I want to do justice to this topic. I want to revisit the topic by itself. Each of those parts of the question. I want to revisit the alpha male by himself. Who is he? Who decides? Is it just by natural selection? The alpha male rises? Do we declare ourselves and hammer those into submission who refuse to accept it? Who decides? And I also want to look at the single mother on her own in more in-depth, and maybe speak to some single mothers, invite them to come on to share their experience, to share their challenges. I want to explore this much more. So join me again. Let me know your thoughts as well. How do you feel about the alpha male? What is your definition? How do you feel about single women, single mothers? And let me know your thoughts. These are questions that we have to address, and we have to be pragmatic. We have to be objective. We have to be honest with ourselves. We have to be really honest with ourselves. Where is this alpha male thing going? This beating chest. Where are you going with that? Are you going to live by yourselves as alpha males? You're going to have a commune of alpha males? Because if you want to hammer women into submission, it's not going to work with these modern women. You may have been able, your fathers and grandfathers may have been able to hammer their spouses into submission, but you're not going to do it for the modern women. You better get your act together, humble yourself, exercise more self-control, dominate yourself, and don't try to dominate another sovereign adult human being. Not even a child should be dominated. Children are sovereign beings too. They need guidance, they need protection, they have limitations in their capacity for reasoning and understanding the world, but they should not be dominated either. Why would you want to dominate another adult? So we are definitely going to be looking at these topics, and thank you for joining me. I will see you next week.